Today's interview is with Lian Dolan. She's like Liam, but no, it's Lian. It's like the female version. I really got to know Lian like she was one of those girls I grew up with in South Boston, except, yeah, she's Irish. She has a big family, but she happens to be a New York Yankees fan. But besides that, she's awesome. She's a writer. She's a producer of the Satellite Sisters podcast, which was a nationally syndicated radio show. She has personality for days, and I think you'll enjoy this interview.
Welcome to the Purpose Rockstar Podcast, inspiring stories of people who found purpose in their careers 5 days a week. Unleash your inner rock star and tap into your highest purpose with your host, Derek Duplessis.
Welcome to the Purpose Rockstar Podcast. I'm your host, Derek Duplessis, Executive Director of the Duplessis Foundation. We're helping inner city entrepreneurs to pursue their purpose by training them to run a successful business. This show is an extension of our mission to help you and people all over the world find purpose in their work. Let me tell you a little bit about today's guest. Lian Dolan does it all. She produces the weekly podcast, The Chaos Chronicles, a fun look at modern motherhood. She writes for Oprah.com as a parenting expert. And a decade ago, Lian created Satellite Sisters, an award-winning talk show with her 4 real sisters. Her books include Helena Pasadena and Satellite Sisters Uncommon Senses. We talk about her charmed life as a professional storyteller. Should be a lot of fun. Enjoy.
Purpose Rockstars, let's do this.
Lian Dolan, are you ready to rock?
Yes, I am.
Beautiful. Well, Leah, you are pretty prolific. You got your books, you got the Satellite Sisters show, you got a lot of different things going on. The Chaos Chronicles, etc., etc. But before we get into any of that, and before we get into what you're up to, it would be lovely to get a quote that means something to you.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to give you a Beatles quote, and it's one that I've been thinking a lot about over the last couple of years. It's just the classic, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. It's just, to me, says a lot about what really matters at the end of your life. And over the last year, I've lost both my parents and a lot of my aunts and uncles in that very generous generation, people who really helped shape my childhood and who I am now. And it was an opportunity to kind of take a look at what really matters in the end. And it's kind of all about love. It's about, what you put into this universe and what you take out of it. And it also, that quote says a lot to me about balance. I'm a working mom with 2 kids, and it's easy to really let your life get totally out of whack, to make it all about work or all about money or all about things or all about stuff, and none of that matters in the end. So I hope that's not too heavy, but that's what I've been thinking a lot about lately, love and balance.
Okay, I'm in love with that quote myself. I got a little emotional there because I don't know what would happen if I lost both my parents. So it's just really special for you to share that with us. And along those lines, I would love for you to share with us the narrative of Lian. How did you get to become this prolific producer of written and audio, just entertainment? Tell us about the humble beginnings, if you will.
Sure.
Hopefully they were humble, to now.
I think of myself as a storyteller, and I've come to think of myself as a storyteller because I do write. I write fiction. I write nonfiction. I've written TV. I've had a nationally syndicated radio show. I do a couple of podcasts now. I do a lot of public speaking. And to me, it all boils down to telling my story, to having found my voice, and to be able to tell and talk and write and in the same voice across a lot of different medium. And I think an essential part of how I started telling a lot of stories was that I'm the youngest of 8 kids. I grew up in a big Irish Catholic family, very loud, opinionated, boisterous dinner table. And when you're the youngest of 8, really no one cares what you have to say. Like no one is waiting to hear about your day. Okay? So you got to bring it. You got to come to the dinner table and you have to bring it. And so, Derek, I actually used to kind of work on my material and practice my stories like in the bathroom before I went to the dinner table, so that my brothers and sisters would just pay attention to me for 2 minutes in a single day. And I think the Irish are good storytellers anyway. We have sort of a dark sense of humor that helps us get through the ups and downs of life. And so I've sort of stuck with that idea of just, finding my voice and telling my story no matter what it was. I was a huge reader growing up. I consumed a lot of music. I listened to a lot of radio. I loved the theater. I read poetry. I loved anything that had something to say. It never was ever occurred to me to go into math or science or medicine or anything like that. I knew it was going to be something with words. And I actually studied classics in college. I studied Greek and Latin. I loved ancient history, and I thought maybe that's where my calling would be. But then I realized, that's really hard, actually, to be an archaeologist or to be a professor of classics. So I was a DJ in college, and I just kept talking and writing. I found myself as a producer. I went to work for Nike as my first job out of college. I, took an entry-level job in their film department and was putting stuff together as a production assistant. And that's when I started writing because I had to interview a lot of athletes. And a lot of athletes don't have that much to say beyond we're taking it one game at a time. So I would shape a few questions for them and give them some stuff to write. And that really hit me that, wow, what I really like doing is writing and telling these stories. I'm good at the organizational stuff, but the stuff that's really fun to me is the storytelling. So from there, I took a couple of screenwriting classes at the American Film Institute in Los Angeles, and that's when we started Satellite Sisters, which became a nationally syndicated radio show. That was my 4 real sisters and I, just connecting on the air, telling our stories, sharing our lives. We thought there was a spot for women's voices on the radio, and there really weren't too many women's voices on the radio, having conversations the way women like to have conversations, covering a lot of ground, being able to disagree without yelling and screaming, always coming back to your ex-boyfriend. We thought that would be a good idea for a show, and it was. And that led to a magazine column in O Magazine. We had a book come out. I started writing a humor column in Working Mother. And all that time, I just kept kind of focusing in on what's the story I want to tell? Who am I representing? I'm a working mom. I'm representing that point of view. I think life should always have humor and heart and empathy. I'm representing that point of view. And so that's kind of how I started and where I am now.
There's more to that interview. Yeah, more. And you can find all of it at purposerockstar.com. Link is right there. Yeah, right there. Yeah, right there. So it's really, really awesome that you can go to purposerockstar.com. If you're one of those on-the-go Apple people, you can check it out on iTunes. There's the link. And for my non-Apple people, I'm going to make sure there's a link on Stitcher somewhere next to me. So you got iTunes, Stitcher, and purposerockstar.com. Tell your friends, tell your family. We're on Twitter and Facebook, and somehow we'll be on LinkedIn. I don't know. But at least we'll be on Twitter and Facebook. And one final favor. Pursue your purpose. It needs you.